So thank you everybody for joining this session. Uh, Today we are going to see about the Sitecore pipelines. Whether you are the beginners in Sitecore or intermediate or advanced, you are going to learn something new today and you are going to apply it in your project. So let's start today's session. So before starting anything, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Surendra Sharma. I am Associate Director. Overall, I have 16 plus year of experience in Microsoft technology. On Sitecore, I'm working from last more than 10 years. I'm Sitecore certified, MongoDB certified, Microsoft certified. I'm a speaker in different conferences and user groups on related with Sitecore. Till now, I have delivered more than 20 projects on the Sitecore side. I'm author of 80 ebooks on the Sitecore. I'm running one blog website where I have published more than 200 blog articles related with the Sitecore. Apart from that, I have also developed 5 reusable modules available on Sitecore Marketplace. So before starting anything on pipeline, let's start and try to understand what exactly is the pipeline in our general life. So the best example here is this water pipeline that we have. So our government agencies, they are going to create a dam. They are collecting the water from the rivers and the rain, and they are storing it in dam. From the dam through the pipelines, they are sending this water through this pipeline in our cities, and from those cities it come to our areas. From our areas, again pipes are connected, it come to our society, and then the normal pipes are connected, that is giving water to our home. So through this example, you can see here, this pipeline is nothing but where one pipe is connected with the another one, and then it's create a pipeline. So we can pick this concept of our general life in our design pattern. So one of the design pattern is the pipeline. So the concept here is that you have some source system, or you can say a procedure, and this is going to give you the input. In our case, it can be a water or it can be any data, and then we are creating the chain of this group or functions here, and then finally we are getting the output here. So basically the idea here is that you have to create a chain of the functions of the task that will take some input and will filter it out, and then at the last it will give you some output here. So that's what the pipeline pattern is, which is pretty straightforward. So you have already used this pipeline patterns in your early life when you started to learn about the computer in your operating system as well. So I am sure you know about this pipeline operator, that is this straight line. So you can write multiple commands which are separated by this pipeline character, where you have to provide a one input here, and then that input is going to be doing the process by this command one. Then it will give you the output, which will become the input for this next command, and so on. And at the last, you will get your desired result here. So this is the syntax of this. You have basically used it in PowerShell. So you can see here, right now you are trying to get all the processes that are running on your machine, and out of that, you are going to try to get the CPU related the process, and then you are going to filter it by the path here, and then you are getting all the items, and within this item you are trying to get the app data related items, and then you are sorting it through its full name. So you are already using it in PowerShell. If you are working on the Linux, there as well you see this piping character or the piping separator, where you are writing one command concatenate, where it's going to create a new files or appending the data into the existing file, and then you are using the grep command. You are listing down the file, and at the last you are counting the characters in each line. So that's what the piping character or command, where you can combine multiple commands, and then you can get the desired output here. Now we know about what the pipeline in our general life. We have also used it in operating systems in our early life, but how to use it in programming? So if you want to use it in programming, again, you need some input data, and at the last you need some output data. So in between this, you can use the pipeline. So within this pipeline, you have to create a sequence of the functions or the tasks. So where each function will do some processing here, and then it will give you the output, and then again this function too will do some processing, then give the output. So on. So this is nothing but a continuous flow of the data that you can process it within this pipeline here. What are the different examples where you can see this pipeline in our software fields? So one is the data processing pipeline. So in data processing, a pipeline may involve several stages for transferring and analyzing data. For example, in data analysis pipeline, data could flow through the different stages like data injection, data cleaning, feature extraction. You can apply the machine learning models training here, and then you will get the finally the result here. You can apply it in the image processing. So in image processing, a pipeline could be used to process images through various stages. For example, image resizing or noise reduction or the color correction, the edge detection, or maybe a image enhancement as well. Uh, you see it in the different web development pipelines are there. For example, a pipeline can be used for the task like asset compilation or the optimization. So for example, a pipeline could involve concatenating and minifying the CSS or JavaScript files, optimizing the images, and caching the assets for the faster loading. So there as well, we are using the pipeline methodology. We are using it in CI/CD pipeline, especially on the Azure side. If you have to create the Azure build process, or you can use the Azure release pipelines, where it will compile, it will do the unit testing, do the integration testing, and finally you can deploy through this pipeline to the production servers. You can have the natural language processing pipeline. So here you can write a pipeline that could process your text data through various stages, such as you can use the tokenization or the speech tagging, or maybe entity recognition, or sentiment analysis, or maybe text summarization. So for different kind of things, you can use this pipelines here. You can have the audio processing pipelines as well. So here, pipeline might involve stages for audio file decoding, or maybe noise reduction, or audio feature extraction, speech to text conversion. So for these examples, you can use it in the audio processing pipeline as well. Within the video editing also, we are using it for the different stages of our video. For example, you have to do the clipping of the video, or adding special effects, or the transitions, the audio synchronization, or the video rendering. So you see, almost in all the fields of the computer science, you can use this the pattern that is related with pipeline, where you are going to break down the complex task into the manageable tasks, where each step in the pipeline performs specific operations here. Now we understand that what is pipeline in our general life, what is the pipeline patterns, and how to apply it on the different fields of the of our software field. But what exactly is the pipeline in Sitecore? So in Sitecore, the pipeline is nothing but a sequence of processors. So for example, within this diagram, we have this processor A, processor B, processor C. Then whenever this pipeline is going to be executed, it will run in sequential order. So first it will execute this processor A, then B, and then C. So it's a sequence of the processor. And what is the processor? Processor is nothing but a specific task that it need to be performed here. Okay. How to create the this processor? So you just need to create one class. Inside that, you have to write one method whose name is process. So this process method take a single argument, which is a type of pipeline argument, and it will return a void. So it's not going to return anything. It just will perform the operations or the task that you have provided here. It may be happen that let's suppose within this B and C, these are provided by the Sitecore, but in between these two, now you need to add your own processor. So you have to create that processor. It means you have to create one class with the name process, and then you have to combine this, you have to change this flow. So after B, it will execute your processor, and then your processor will give the control to the next processor, that's called processor C here. So you can combine or you can merge your own processor here to execute something here, to carry out some task here. So that's what the Sitecore pipeline is. Again, in one word, what is Sitecore pipeline? It's nothing but a sequence of processors here. So within the Sitecore, there are different type of processors that are involved. A different kind of pipelines are there. So we have the some of the commonly used are the initialization pipeline. So whenever Sitecore is started, it will reinitialize itself. It will initialize lots of parameters. It load all the configuration file. It will allocate the memory or the cache. So it will initialize everything within this initialization pipeline. We have the HTTP pipeline. So whenever you are trying to say you are trying to access any URL, or if you are trying to access any item within the Sitecore through the browser, in that case, HTTP pipelines are executed here. We have the publish pipeline. So once you have the item, whenever you try to publish it, then at that time, this publish pipeline is going to be triggered and all the processors are involved here are going to be executed here. So the question is, can I see this pipeline, or how to see that what are the different processors are involved here? So for that, you have to go to the Sitecore side. So if you go to the Sitecore and if you try to access its show config, and then you have to search it for the character called the pipeline. So once you find this word, you see here, this is the initialization pipeline that you have. And inside this, you have multiple processors are there, and all these processors are executed in a sequential order. So it means first it will execute this, then second, then this one, then third, then fourth, and so on. So we have the initialization pipeline. Similarly, we have the shutdown pipeline. So whenever you try to stop the IIS for our Sitecore website, it will execute this shutdown pipeline here. Similarly, you have the initialization manager or the session related pipeline. One of the most important pipeline that we need to be see is the HTTP request begin pipeline. So whenever you try to execute and trying to access any page, it try to run this HTTP request begin pipeline. Uh, Within this pipeline, you can create your own processor. So how to create the processor? So it's a very straightforward method. Here, you just need to create one class where you need to write one method uh, called the process. So let's go there and try to see how to write it. Okay. So we are going to see lots of examples here where you will get the where you will get the good examples related with the pipelines. So first is the HTTP request processor. So my requirement here is that, okay, let's suppose I have created some of the pages here, test pages, which are going to be say something like this. And if I trying to access it, so this is my test page where I'm going to get its output. It give me the header, it give me the footer, and this data here. So this data is coming through this one. So here I have the title, I have some description here, which I will get it here. So when I'm trying to access it, yeah, I will get it. But what will happen if I trying to execute something URL which does not exist? So at that time, what I want to get the custom 404 page. So if I'm trying to access it, now it redirecting me to the 404 page. So this URL does not exist, and I want to handle it. So for that, what I have done, I have created one pipeline. So how to create a pipeline? So I have created a one C# class here, and inside a class, this is my class which is inherited from the HTTP request processor. You have to write a one method called process, which is going to be written void, and it will take a one parameter. And inside that, you have to write your logic here. Okay. So I have write the logic that if my Sitecore context dot item is not null, it means this item is available in Sitecore. So return this control from here. But if this item is not available, if the page is not available, so it will come here. Then it will check, okay, what's the page ID? So I have created a one configuration file where I have specified that what's the ID of your 404 page that you have created. So this is the ID that I have specified, this 7DF. So you can see here it's a 7DF. So it will take this item, it will create the, it will get the item from the Sitecore context database. It will check if it's null or not. And if this item is exist, then yeah, the current context item is set to the 404 page, and it will return the status code 404 here. Okay, so that's how it's executed. So now if I try to go there, if I'm trying to access any page, for example, this test page, if I'm trying to access, so it will give me the correct data here, correct output. But if this page is not available, if I'm trying to access anything, maybe some random number, so it will give me redirect me to the 404 page. So once you created this one, you have to create a one configuration file where you have to specify, you have to inform about this processor to the Sitecore. So how to inform it? So for that, you have to create this configuration file, and inside it, you can write your you have to create a configuration file which always start with configuration, then Sitecore, and then pipelines. So you can see here in Sitecore, or all the pipelines are actually started from this pipeline. Inside that, we have our HTTP request begin pipeline. So yeah, HTTP request begin pipeline, and inside that we have one processor. So we have this item resolve processor. So if you try to copy it, and if you try to search it here, so this is my item processor here. So I am saying that, all right, I have this item processor, and after this processor, inject my own processor. Okay. Inject my own processor. So you can see here this Alexa search dot pipeline HTTP request processor 404. So this is our processor that we have created. Now, how to specify this one? So for this, you have to specify your namespace. Okay. So my namespace name is Alexa search dot pipelines. So yeah, Alexa search dot pipeline dot your class name. So yeah, I have my class name, and then you have to specify the name of your assembly or name of your project. So my project name is Alexa search. So that's why I have specified Alexa search here. So you have to create this patch, and once you created this patch, then Sitecore is going to be executed. If it's able to resolve it, yeah, it will resolve that item. But if it's unable to resolve it, then it will execute our O1 processor here. So that's how you can create the pipeline here. The another example here is the item processor. So what exactly it do? Let's go there and try to see it in our code. So I have this processor. Inside it, I'm saying that, all right, whatever the items I'm going to publish, so just take it and create a logging of that. So it's go there and try to log it, and then it's going to log it in our all the logs that we are maintaining it in Sitecore. So you can write any code here, whatever the code you want to write, but for the time being, I just write the simple code that just log this information, that which item Sitecore is trying to publish it. Okay. So once you specify it, then you have to add this into your configuration file. So you can go there and you can specify that I want to write one publish. You can say a publish pipeline. Inside that, I have created one processor, and inside that, you have to add the entry of your processors that you have specified it here. So if you go there and try to search it, so you will get this processor inside this one. So this is my processor here that I have added. So whenever you now go to the Sitecore, and if you change anything here, and if you try to publish this item, so this information is going to be logged into the Sitecore configuration file, and that we can check it through the configurations. So you can go there and you can search it into your latest configuration file, or sorry, log file. So you can go there and you can check it in your log. So you can sort it by date, and this is the latest log file that we have. You can open it in Notepad and then try to search it here. So you will get that information here that yeah, we are trying to publish all these items. I have published the dependent items as well, so that's why I am getting all these dependent item as well that is published here. But you can see here the log is available here. So that's the second processor that you can write it. The third one is the logging. So what it will do, it just go there and log the information that whatever the operations you are doing, just log it here. And you can see here, it's not inherited from anything. And I'm just writing one process method, and inside that I have write one log here. Okay. So now you have to go there and you have to specify it information into the configuration file. So I just go there and you can see here, I have just added it here. But the specialty of this one, this process is that I'm not specifying anything anywhere that where or after which processor it need to be added. So for example, here I'm specifying that after or before you can specify it, but here I'm not specifying anything. So where it will add itself. So if you go to the configuration file and check it here, so you will notice that it's going to be added at the last. So you see here, this processor is added at the last. Okay. So if you are not specifying that where exactly I need to add the processor, so what Sitecore will do? By default, it will add it at the last. Okay. So now you can go there and you can check this information into your log files. So you can go there and try to search it. So you'll get something here that, yeah, this is going to be recorded here. Okay. There is one more one, the custom field processor. What it will do? So it go to the Sitecore environment and it will work on the field level. So I just write down process method and I'm getting all the rendering fields that are available on my page, and I'm checking if it's not a rich text, so return it. Okay. But if it's a rich text, I'm saying that add this one as well. Okay, maybe a copyright, or let's suppose you are creating one special control, and if it's a free control, if client don't have license, then you want to add something to that this is not the license, or you have to purchase the license. You want to specify some line there, so you can specify in this way. So for any rich text field, now you will get this text copyright Alexa somewhere at the last. So if you go there on the browser now, and this is my rich text field, so you see here you are getting the copyright Alexa here. So this is my rich text field. So if you can go there in Sitecore and try to see, this is the description for test. So you can see here there is no nothing here where a copyright Alexa is defined here. But now with every rich text field at the runtime, it will add it here. Okay. So this is the another way of dealing with the processors within the pipeline. And of course, as usual, you have to add it this rendering field. So rendering field is the pipeline, and inside that I am adding this processor here. And the last one is the media related. So let's suppose you want to write a media related pipeline and the process, so that also you can add it. So the scenario here is that within the Sitecore, if you upload any images, so for any kind of images in Sitecore, you will get this alternate text which is always be empty. But what we want, by default, we want something to be here. If nothing is there, at least this name, the item name, should be available here. So what you can do here, you can write one pipeline, and then you can upload some images. And whenever you are uploading these images, so by default, this pipeline will run, and you can see here, it will set this alternate text here as well. So the same thing, it's done by this pipeline. So it set this alternate text. So it's getting the item name, and then it will set it here. So as usual, you have to go there and you have to add it into this configuration files here. Okay. So that's how you can write the multiple pipelines, and this is the way that you can create your own pipelines here. Now we know that the Sitecore can call this pipeline and execute it from its own. It will execute it automatically. But let's suppose there is a requirement that you want to call pipelines manually or explicitly. So how to do that? So for that, you have to use this core pipeline.run. You have to use this core pipeline.run. Now, what is this? So it is used in Sitecore whenever you want to execute a pipeline programmatically. So pipeline in Sitecore, we know that pipelines in Sitecore are used to execute a series of processors in a specific order. And they are defined in configuration file and typically triggered by a specific event or user action. Now, how do we know that, yeah, we can call it programmatically and we can execute our pipeline, but how to write it execute exactly? So let's go there and try to say it. So for example, in I have this page, and on this page I have this footer here, a footer component, and on this footer component I want to call my pipeline. So I have created this pipeline where I'm creating one pipeline argument. So I have created it class where I have one string called custom value. So I want to pass it, and this is my pipeline processor. So this is my process method where I'm passing this parameter here, and where I'm just simply writing this log message that I want to whatever the message you want to print, you can print it, and then I want to print this string value. So this is my pipeline, and I want to execute it whenever I want, maybe on button click or maybe on control rendering. At that time, I want to run it. So how to do that? So for that, you can go to your rendering or button click, and then you have to create you have to create one argument. So for example, I have created this argument. I'm saying that hello world, and then I'm writing this code, sitecore dot pipelines dot core pipeline dot run. Okay. So this is important, core pipeline dot run, and write your pipeline here, and then pass this argument. Now, what is this pipeline? This pipeline is nothing but your configuration file that you have created. So for example, I have right here that my pipeline. So this is my custom pipeline. So just specify this word, my custom pipeline, and inside that add your processor. Okay. So I have just write here the processor. This processor I am specifying it, and then whenever you are executing this footer, okay. So whenever this footer is going to be rendered here, it will trigger this code as well. Okay? It will trigger this code, and then it will log the message or whatever the task you have asked it. It will perform it, and it will be available here. So if you try to find it, so you can see here my custom pipeline processor and hello world. Okay, so you will get this hello world as an output because you are passing here as a parameter value as the hello world. So there may be a requirement where you can call this pipeline whenever you want, on a button click, on a form submission, or uh, or anywhere wherever your client is asking or your project have the requirement. Now, what are the areas or what are the time when you can use it? So when you want to implement some custom business logic, for example, if you have custom business logic that need to be executed as a part of the Sitecore pipelines, you can create a pipeline and you can call this run method to execute it. If you want to modify the behavior of existing Sitecore pipeline as well, at that time, you can write your custom pipeline processor, and again, you can call it. If you have requirement to call the pipelines programmatically, at that time as well, you can use it. And the last one, if you need to integrate Sitecore with third-party system that required some custom processing, at that time also you can create your pipelines and you can use this core pipeline dot run method to execute it. So now we know how to create the pipelines, how to call it automatically, how to call it programmatically. But apart from that, there is one area where we need to check, especially on the production side, that how we can monitor these pipelines. So for this, there are a couple of ways. One is the log files. So for example, we saw the log files right now where you can go there and you can check it, the different logs maintaining by the Sitecore, where it will store all the background operation that Sitecore carried out, all the operation that website is performing right now. So it will store all these actions into this log file. So this is one of the area where you can use this log files to monitor the Sitecore pipelines. Another is the debug mode. So you can debug your pipelines and then you can check what's going on. So how to debug your pipeline? So you can simply go there into your pipelines. So for example, I can go there and I can put the breakpoints here, and you can go to this debug. You can say attach to process, and then just write here W3 WP process. So your worker process. So my worker process is this one. So just attach it. And then whenever you try to access this page, or maybe I'm trying to access it, so you see here, it's trying to hit it. And once it is hit, you can debug it as well. So that's how you can debug it, which is pretty straightforward, and it is also helpful for you to monitor it, especially in those circumstances where you want to know what exactly the data it's getting it at the runtime. But this log files and debug mode both are, uh, you can say, very little bit complicated. For the production, we need some special or some simple way. So for that, you can use the pipeline profilers. Now, what is this pipeline profilers? So if you want to, it's used for monitoring it, and within the Sitecore, it's an important part for maintaining your Sitecore instances. So for this, within the pipeline profiler, it will help developers to monitor the pipelines. It's actually a visual representation. So you can see here, it's a visual representation of Sitecore pipeline events that occur during the interaction within a website. So for example, you are calling the page rendering or form submission. At that time, whatever the pipelines it execute, you can monitor it. Um, it display the execution timing. So for example, you can see here wall time. So this is the execution timing, and it also show the time taken by each processor within the pipeline. So you will see this how much time it's taking by that pipeline. So this information can be used to identify the performance bottleneck in the pipeline and to optimize the pipeline executions here. So how can you access it? So for that, yeah, write your domain name, Sitecore admin, and pipelines.aspx. So if I go there and if I try to access it, so it will look something like this. And here you will see the pipelines, the information, the special information that you will get it here, the how many times that particular pipeline or processor is executed, how much typical time it take it here, and this is the average time, and this is the time it's taking by the each instances. So for example, if I search it here for Alexa related pipelines, so you see here Alexa HTTP uh, request processor. So till now it executed 609 times, and it take on an average it take uh, uh, this is the total time it's taken by, and in each time it's taking 30 milliseconds. So how this 30 milliseconds is taking, you just need to divide this 18 by this 609, and you'll get this number here. Okay, so I can show you as well this one. So you can go there. Maybe we'll take this 132. So just type this 132.22 and then divide by 609, and an example you will get here 0 to 0. So you see here 0 to 0, you are getting it here. If you don't understand what exactly these numbers are, so go there at the top, check this column names, and if you're still unable to understand it, what exactly is this, so go at the last, and you will get this legend where it will explain it, that what do you mean by this execution. So it says that number of execution of the pipeline or processors, and here the last one, so most important is the last one, that how much is an average time it's taking by the pipeline. So if this number is high, it means your pipeline processor is giving you the performance issue, or it can give you the performance issue. So that's how you can use this pipeline. If you're unable to remember it, then you can go to the Sitecore, go to the control panel, and when you open the control panel, you will get it. Go there in administration tools, so you'll get this administration tools here, and from this one you will get the pipeline profiler. So when you click on it, it will open this page here, so you can remember it in this way as well. So let's see some best practices for Sitecore pipelines whenever you want to create it. So whenever possible, always try to use Sitecore built-in processor instead of creating your own one. Plan your pipeline carefully to ensure that processor execute in the correct order and that they do not conflict with each other. And keep your pipeline simple by breaking it down into smaller and reusable processors. So don't put a very high number of coding lines into a single processor. Otherwise, it may start to give you the problem, especially on the performance side. What are the different advantages that uh, that Sitecore can provide you through its pipeline? So one is the flexibility that Sitecore pipelines provide a flexible way to add, remove, or modify functionality at different stages of a process. So this allows for customizations actually. Reusability. So pipelines are modular, so they can be reused it in different contexts, making your development more efficient. Uh, Maintainability. So you can separate out your code into smaller and more manageable pieces, which is make it very easier to maintain and debug. And you can extend the functionality. For example, pipeline can be extended with the new processors to meet changing business requirements. So in these cases, yeah, it can give you the good advantages here. Now, as we saw the advantages, there are some disadvantages as well. So for example, one is the overhead. So pipelines can add some overhead to process the time, especially if there are many processors involved. So you can check it through the profiler section that we saw just now. The complexity. So understanding the Sitecore pipeline model and how to work with it can be complex, and it requires some little bit of experience whenever you want to deal with multiple pipelines. Performance. So while pipeline can be used to optimize performance, if you have not implemented carefully, they can have the negative impact on the performance side. And the debugging. So debugging pipelines issue can be challenging because of the number of processor involved and the complex interaction between them. So because of this, you may get the problem, or you can say that this is the disadvantage of the Sitecore pipelines. Uh, you need to also remember that when exactly you can't use the Sitecore pipelines. Okay, wherever you will see any article, or if you go on any Sitecore related website, you will see lots of pipeline related examples. They are giving you the force to use it, or maybe they are recommending it. But there are the time where you need to take the judgment that when exactly not to use the Sitecore pipeline. So one is if your task is simple and straightforward, so it may not require the use of pipeline. So for example, if you only need to update a single item, you can do it directly without creating a Sitecore pipeline. So for the simple straightforward task, don't use the Sitecore pipelines here. The next is performance critical tasks. So while Sitecore pipelines are very flexible and powerful, they do have some overhead associated with them. If you have a task that need to be performed as quickly as possible, using a pipeline may add too much overhead, and it can slow down the entire processing. Uh, Tight coupling between components. So if your components within your application are tightly coupled, and if you may not make sense to use a pipeline in this case here, because pipelines are designed to loosely coupled component. So if there is already a tight coupling between the component, adding a pipeline may add unnecessary complexity here. If you have inflexible requirement, what it means that if your requirements for a task are very rigid and it's not likely to change, so it may not make any sense to use the pipeline here, because pipelines are designed for a very flexible and adaptable. So if requirements are unlikely to change, then you don't need that level of flexibility. You don't need to write a pipelines in that case. So yeah, I think that's it from my side, and thank you. Um, I'm especially thank to SCG Pune for organizing this session. If you have any question, if you have any queries, then yeah, we can discuss it right now.
I think there is one query, Surendra, in
Yeah.
the chat from Vikas. How to optimize a pipeline if you see it is taking so much time in the pipeline profiler?
Yeah. So for that, you just need to check here how much time. So you can see here the last column. This one you have to always monitor whenever you have some a little sense that yeah, somewhere or maybe a particular page. So see, there are two things for the performance. One is your entire application or every page is taking time, or there is a some specific page that is taking a time. So in that case, you have to divide your investigation into these two parts. So if it's the entire application, then yeah, the approach is different. If a specific page is there, then your approach is different. So for a specific page, you can go there on that page, and you can separate out your components one by one and then check which component is taking more time. And at that time, you have to also check within that component, is there any pipeline that is going to be executed. That you can check it from here, that the particular pipeline, how much time it's taking, especially the custom one. Don't concentrate on this site correlated pipeline, but because these are the important, that are some tasks are carried out by the site core. So don't focus it here. Focus on the specific pipelines or the processor that you have right. Okay, so you can then go there and you can check it, that all right, I have write a processor and how much time it's taking. So you can see here, it's, if you compare it with the rest of the Sitecore one, it's taking more time here. So in a long run, yeah, it can give you the performance issue. So go on that pipeline, try to see what is there and what exactly is implemented by the developers. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Thanks, Surendra. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is one more question added from Vikas only, like how to determine which component is running in which pipeline.
For that, you can use the Sitecore itself. So you can go to the Sitecore environment and you try to open the page into the experience editor. And whenever you try to open it in experience editor, you will get one section called optimization, a tab called optimization. In that case, it will give you the component wise information, that which component is taking how much time. So I'm not sure how much time it will take it to load it, but yeah, you will get the optimization tab. Within that, you should use it. It will first show the page, and at the bottom side,
Like
it will give you the all the components and it's the time it's taking for the execution for that component.